today and doing this presentation for us on, for lack of a better title, what the heck is a township? I've lived here in Arlington Heights now for 25 years, and I've never understood what a township is and what exactly they do. I'm starting to understand that a little bit better because of the work that we all do here with League, that I'm really proud of that we do, but I still am a little clueless. I also would have guessed before the work that I do with League that Mr. Bussey here was a paid individual and not a volunteer like the rest of us are. But he's elected, but he's really not getting paid for what he does. So I really appreciate his time to come here for us tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me this evening. I'm George Bussey. I grew up in Mount Prospect, went to Prospect High School, and the Navy paid for me to go to college and grad school. I spent 8 years on active duty in the Navy, then got into the political arena for a while in Washington, D.C., but I found out I was too principled for it. I didn't compromise enough and decided that's not probably the right thing for me. So I was in the financial industry for 30 years in Chicago, retired just last year, retired from the Navy as a captain about 10 years ago, and now I'm at home. I'm still a director at the Glenview State Bank, still on upteen different charitable boards to my wife's chagrin, and then I'm a township clerk. And before I was township clerk, I was township trustee. I also want to introduce my wife, Suzanne. She was marketing with GE, and then when we met, and then she raised our 5 kids and has had to put up with a lot of garbage from me over these years, so I appreciate it. So it's townships. I know a lot of people have heard the word township and know there is a township, but very few people know what a township really is. And the people that know what a township is are very select groups of individuals that use the townships extensively. And these tend to be people with problems. It could be financial problems, it could be healthcare problems, it could be tax problems, it could be emotional problems. The township most of the township work tends to be with people who have problems. This is something that makes the township sort of a unique body within our government structure in Illinois. Let me just start out real quick here. First thing you need to know is Dillon's rule. Dillon's rules in the Article 7 of Section 6 of the 1970 Constitution. What this says is that a township only has those powers that are given to it by the state. It has no other powers other than what the state gives us. That's different than home rule. A lot of municipalities here, some of the townships have home rule. Home rule is where you can do you have powers to do everything except what the state precludes you from doing. Now, all organizations, all government bodies in Illinois were state law organizations until 1970. In 1970 is when they introduced home rule. Why did they introduce home rule? They introduced home rule because what they wanted, the state wanted to get out of the business of running local municipalities and counties and so forth, and also they wanted to reduce the number of government bodies that were in the state. 7,000 government bodies for Illinois. All villages or all municipalities with 25,000 or less became home rule. All counties with a CEO became home rule. And everyone else, all the municipalities and counties had the ability to do a referendum to make themselves home rule. The state felt that these organizations, that the municipalities and the counties would all want to be home rule because it gave them more power in terms of taxing, in terms of basically everything they did. And they thought as a result, they would also consolidate particularly the special districts. That would be like mosquito abatement and Weller Creek and all these different special groups. Consolidate them in. Unfortunately, none of this happened. The reason it didn't happen is because the municipalities and the counties didn't want the responsibilities of these special districts. They didn't want to take on what they did, and they didn't want to be blamed for the taxes that were charged. So there was no reduction in terms of special districts or in terms of government agencies. Also, very few of the smaller municipalities or other counties made the switch to home rule. And the reason for that is, how many are familiar with the votes that have gone in Prospect Heights? Prospect Heights has tried to go to home rule like 4 times. And the reason it hasn't gone through is because home rule by the residents there is associated with higher taxes, and it's associated with changing our environment, changing our town. So they are willing to stay state law and not go home rule because of their fear of higher taxes and their fear of change. They're changing culture and changing in the village. This is not unique. There are 1,300 municipalities in the state of Illinois. 300 of them are home rule, and that's about the same as there was in 1970. There are 103 counties in Illinois. Only one is home rule, and that's Cook County. That's because it had a CEO. None of the other counties have gone to home rule. So the whole purpose of home rule, by the state's point of view, did not happen. And home rule has stayed, has not grown and expanded like it was expected, and we've not seen the consolidation out of that we expected. So now what's happened is now they're saying, well, we're not seeing the results that way, so now we're gonna look differently. We're gonna try to find ways to empower the citizens to eliminate different forms of government, and right now, Township is in the main target. So let me go through and just explain what is a township, what does it do, and then you can make your opinion as whether township should stay around or not. Dillon's rule. All right, townships. Townships is the oldest existing unit of government in North America. It's widely used throughout the country in different forms in different areas of the country. In Illinois, there is primarily the townships are the townships with the road districts. We do have some smaller ones in the southern area called county commissions or precincts of road districts. Those have the influence from the southern part of the country. We are built off of the model that was used in the Northeast. So that's what I'm going to focus on, not the 17 out of the 1,450 townships that are the township and road districts. Townships are not of any one set size or population. Elk Grove Township, which by the way is Central Road south to Devon, and then Mount Prospect Road across to 53. It's 36 square miles. It's 95,000 residents, and it incorporates multiple municipalities. Mount Prospect is in Elk Grove, part of Elk Grove, part of Mount Prospect is Elk Grove. Elk Grove is part of Elk Grove is in Elk Grove Township, and then parts of Des Plaines, Rolling Meadows, and Arlington Heights. How could I forget? That's about Mount Prospect. You didn't like the Arlington Heights guys. But you get, even though that's the average size, Rockford Township is got 113 square miles. That's the largest in size. Thornton Township represents a population of 170,000. So there's some real differences here, but their average is kind of what we have here, like with Wheeling and Elk Grove Township. There are a couple, Cicero is the only township, and Evanston and Belleville are the only municipalities where both municipal and township functions are combined, and that's because they're coterminous. They all fit the same, they overlap each other perfectly. And to be honest with you, that makes sense to me that you just have one organization, one government body managing that. So, in Illinois government, state, you have state government, counties, there's the counties, the state, then all the counties, and the townships are in the counties, and then municipalities and the special districts overlap with the township and each other. Township organization, there's an administrative organization, there's a financial organization. This is because it's state law, none of it makes sense. But this is the way it's set up, and it's weird. On the organizational, on the administrative side, you have the town, which is the supervisor, the clerk, and the trustees. And then you have the assessor, is another organization, another group, and then you have Road and Bridge, the highway commissioner. Now, it's not the same for financial. For financial, the township board has total control over the budgets, the levies, the budgets, and the financial oversight. So there's a town general fund, that's the supervisor, the trustees, and then the assessor, who's separate administratively, falls under there on a budget. Then there's the town general assistance, which is under the town administratively, but is separate from a budget. And then there's the Road and Bridge, which is always separate.
Is this every township?
Yes, every township. Every township is that way. And now, and I'll get to it, but the Road and Bridge, in some areas, like here in Cook County, is they're beginning to make changes there. But that's the structure of all of them. And that has to be the same in every one because it's state law. State law establishes how every township is organized, how it's structured from a budgetary point of view, administrative point of view. We don't have a choice in this. Now, the township organization, you have the elected officials. Your primary elected official is the supervisor. He is the CEO. He's in charge of administration and financials overall. He's the chairman of the township board. He is in charge of the general and emergency assistance, which he has a separate budget for. And if he screws up on that, that's how he goes to jail. The general and emergency assistance is where you can get yourself in the most trouble. And then he oversees community and social services. The next group of elected officials under the town are the trustees. They used to be called auditors. What their job is to set the levy, set the budget for the township, all those different sections, and then they have responsibility on an ongoing basis to audit all the bills. Every month they look at all the bills and approve them to ensure that every one of them is legal. They can't tell the supervisor, the highway commissioner, what he can spend on. What he can spend on as long as it's legal. They have to determine and agree that it's legal. And that's a major, how would you say, oversight from a financial point of view. Then I'm the clerk, and I have to maintain all the official papers, books, and records, and work with the county, which is a project in itself. Elected officials also in the township, under the town, is the assessor. This is where it's different here. The assessor appraises property and places a value on it for taxing purposes everywhere but Cook County. That is a major job for them in all the other counties, because if you keep them, there's the county, and then there's the townships, and there's very few municipalities in a lot of these areas. So there's a lot of responsibility that falls on the assessor in those areas to do the proper assessment. In Cook County, because they are a home rule, they have taken over the responsibility for assessment. So the township does not assess your property anymore. So that fair market value thing you just got the other day, that wasn't us, that was the county. So don't yell at me. and so the county that does that. The assessor also serves as the taxpayer's local advocate, and that is what the major job of the assessor in Cook County is now. That's a second responsibility of townships outside of Cook County. That is becoming a major function. Right now, there are lines out the door, probably at Wheeling, but at Elk Grove, because people have got their fair market value assessments. And they're in line because, I was just telling, that there's people there that are crying because they said they're going to have to move out of their homes. They had paid off their mortgages, they had planned to live on Social Security, and now their property taxes are higher than what their mortgage was when they paid it off, and that they can no longer afford that. And they're coming into the township to try to put appeals in, try to get exemptions, and get counseling in this regard. So that's become a major function of the local townships, and I'm sure other townships, but particularly here in Cook County, as a taxpayer advocate. You don't get those services from the municipalities, and if you want to get them from the county, you got to go down to the city. Well, Skokie or the city. The assessor is independent though, from an administrative point. Once her budget is approved, she can basically do whatever she wants. She can manage her department as she wants to. So she is not dependent, she's not working for the supervisor per se, though she gets her budget from the board of trustees and the supervisor, but after that she's independent. Same with Road and Bridge. He has a separate budget. He's independent from the supervisor, manages all the roads, and the roads he manages are the unincorporated roads. So out in wherever it is, Bloomingdale, whatever it is, there's tons of unincorporated area there. There's hundreds of miles that they're responsible for. That's why the county doesn't want that, because each township can manage that much more efficiently than a county. Here, we're down to 4, 5, 6, 8 miles of unincorporated road. The only problem with that is those unincorporated areas are not getting incorporated, because those are areas that nobody wants. Those are areas that municipalities will not annex. Those are the areas that the Cook County doesn't want to get involved in. How many of you are aware of the, like for instance, the Oasis trailer park on 83 as you go south? That is a major, large area. Now, municipalities don't want to annex it. So the township has responsibility for taking care of the roads in that area, picking up the brush, doing the drainage, taking care of any bridges or anything that's in that area. And so they take care of those areas, those unincorporated areas, which are not taken care of by the municipalities. In Cook County, those are specific smaller areas. Outside, those are massive areas. Okay. And then just to fill out the township organization, there's usually a township administrator. He's like the head of the staff, and he also is deputy clerk if I'm not there. We have a director of general assistance and community outreach. That is becoming, along with taxpayer advocacy, that is becoming the other major area that townships are involved in now, is general assistance, community outreach, and emergency assistance, and I'll get into that a little more. And you have a deputy assessor, and then we have two consultants, we outsource the township attorney and the township engineer. So what are the three mandatory functions? These are required by law. We can get involved in other community areas, other community programs and community things that we can be involved in to help the community, but these are required by law. One, we have to administer general assistance. That is the supervisor under the GA budget. We have to maintain unincorporated roads and bridges. That's the highway commissioner under the road bridge budget. And then we appraise property values and provide taxpayer support. And that is except Cook County, where Cook County actually does the appraisals. Oh, and by the way, you know, what they did is they put in a new software system, and that is creating, if any of you live in condos or apartments, it had a flaw. So a lot of the condos and apartments are seeing 200% increases in their fair market value. And that's not right. There's a mistake there. They're gonna have to go back and redo that. On the homes in general, it's just inconsistent. We don't know what's wrong, but they're gonna have to work through get the bugs out of the software, as you IT guys know. So the trouble is we're paying taxes on it in the meantime. General assistance. Let's look at each one of these. General assistance. Township provides general assistance, which is a program of last resort. If people cannot get, if they can't get any other public aid support anywhere else, and they have needs for basic living requirements, the township is the last place they can go. Township is where they can go and get financial counseling and financial assistance, where we administer a variety of special programs. LIHEAP is for, in winter, it provides funding for them to pay for heat. NICOR, it reduces their cost of their gas. Access to care gets them access to medical services, so these are doctors who volunteer to do it basically for free. Mobile dental, if you can't afford to go to a dentist, with Northwest Community Hospital, we have partnered to create a mobile dental. Salvation Army Extension, we work with Salvation Army to provide services there. Food pantry, we've gone from 30 people a month to 150 a month now. They have coming in for the food pantry. Medical lending closet just starting, and that's overwhelmed too. So the thing I'm gonna point out here is the township is the last place these people can go. So when I said certain groups know the township very well, that's because these are the people at the very bottom of the rung that are at their last gasp. And this is where they go and get help, or they get referrals to alliance partners for mental health, spousal abuse, homeless. We provide grants to Wings, to Shelter, to Kenneth Young Mental Health Facility. And we do those grants to keep them active, to keep them involved in the community, so they don't stop existing. And also sort of opens the door for our constituents to get kind of to the front of the line a little bit. So we have partnerships that we work with them, and we provide grants to them, so that these people that are falling through the cracks, if we can't provide support, we give them to our partners. And we work with about 31 of these people, of these organizations. And for some of them, if we weren't supporting them, they'd go under. For instance, if townships go away, those groups would lose these grants and would not be able to function. Then we provide seasonal programs, you know, school supplies, Christmas, Thanksgiving baskets, winter coats. And we've got areas, I'm just thinking now, like the south side of Mount Prospect, some of those areas where there's some real need for just some basic things like winter coats. Road and bridge is the third mandatory area that we need to work in. We maintain the roads and bridges outside of federal, state, and local jurisdictions, so unincorporated areas. That can be extensive in the rural communities, more limited in suburban, as I said, but these are usually in the suburban areas, the less visible areas, if you want to say it nicely. Road and bridge maintenance, drainage, brush pickup, general infrastructure problems, that's what they'll work on. Those departments have downsized, obviously, as there's fewer roads, but they still are very, very active. But there's discussions of maybe outsourcing that rather than having the township maintain the infrastructure, rather outsourcing that, have someone manage, maybe outsource it to Mount Prospect and pay them to manage those areas. And then the assessor, as I said, the real value now in the township area, in our township, Cook County area, is they provide the property tax assistance to, well, we're seeing over 150 taxpayers a month right now, but during the surge period, you could see 150 a day, almost. Municipalities don't generally provide taxpayer property assistance, and the nearest Cook County offices are Skokie and Chicago. And I ask you, if you're an older man or woman that doesn't drive anymore, can't get around, how are you going to get in and get that service? How are you going to be taken care of? Community services. This is beyond the mandated services. These are the other services that we provide where we're trying to fill in the gaps what municipalities don't provide, or what municipality or what other organizations provide, but in a very inconvenient fashion. So we have an employment center. This is a place where people can come in, get employment counseling, job search training, and we offer job fairs. We have had a 90% placement for people to get jobs, which is huge. And these are people that, by getting them jobs, we get them back into the system. Just the pride of being able to go to work, to be able to take care of your family, to be able to be part of your society. You're not sitting there, not involved and sort of outcast. This is a real way, and this is one of the things that a lot of townships try to emphasize now, is a way to get people back in, get them back on their feet, get them working again, not just to give them money, but to help them get started. And that's one of the things is the Employment Center is help teaching them how to apply for jobs, where to apply for jobs. And we work with people for sometimes even a year after they get a job. They'll keep working with them to make sure that they're doing the right things to keep their job. Youth and Family Services. We have like 3 therapists on staff. They do provide counseling, family and individual counseling, a lot of ADHD and anxiety and related issues in kids. Programs, they offer programs, preventative and skills, life skills programs, health programs. They have a challenge course where kids come out, sometimes with family, and they go through the course. It's team building, working together. They put on seminars on a variety of things, and they have school partnerships. In the schools, they often go in and do workshops on bullying. They do workshops on why you shouldn't belong to a gang. They do workshops in a lot of areas, and the high schools in particular use us extensively because they don't have that wherewithal to do that internally themselves anymore. They just don't have that funding. So the townships fill that gap. Senior disabled transportation, we run 3 buses. Largely what this is to pick up seniors who are disabled, to be able to take them to medical appointments or take them shopping. And to be honest with you, for some people, it's just a chance for them to get out of their house, and they become friends with the bus driver and the other people that are on there. And it's really heartwarming. We had one of the bus drivers retire, and a lot of his riders came in to have a party for him because he was family to them. Then we have Dial a Ride and Trip. Those are other avenues that we partner with to get transportation for mainly seniors and disabled. Social services, we have one of the only bike safety courses in the area. This is where kids from grade schools come and they learn how to ride their bike safely. We have a little village where they stop in the stoplights and they have to put their hand up to turn. And the only problem is we had some guy miss his turn and go cross Arlington Road and go right through the whole thing the other day. So we didn't go through this, obviously. We also have low-income daycare vouchers. We used to have a daycare center in the way in the south end. And the feeling was, why do we have a brick and mortar facility? Why don't we have vouchers for people that can use their vouchers close to where they work, or in whatever part of this. So instead of having a brick and mortar facility, we went to vouchers that are income driven, and you can use them at any certified health daycare center. And then we're working on with unincorporated people can't use libraries, can't use the Arlington Heights Library, the Mount Prospect Library. They're not authorized to use them unless they pay. We'd have to pay to have them go in there. So we looked at maybe we'll pay for them to get library cards. Instead, what we did was we started a little library in the Township Hall as well too, which has got bigger and bigger, and I was helping put the books in, and now I've given up. I just put them on the shelves. I used to try to do fiction and history, and I've given up on that now. But we have a library, and we're trying to make that a little more professional going forward. Then Ways to Work is another interesting one here, where we're working with a couple banks. The Glenview, Mount Prospect Bank, State Bank is one, where we make loans to people who don't have a car and need to be able to have a car to get to work. They've been taking a bus, and then they take a train, and they take a bus, all the hours away from home, all the pain to get to work. This way you make a low interest loan where they can buy a used car, but part of the deal on doing this is they have to take a course ahead of time in terms of managing your money, and then every month they come in to work on their financial skills and so forth, and to track their payment of the loan. So it's not just here's the money, get a car. It's also here's the money, get a car, and let's work with us, and let's help you succeed at this. Not fail at this, not suddenly have to have your car repossessed, but work with us to succeed. And that's one that we're working on right now, and I hope that works out. Also, agency grants, as I told you, we make agency, I say 15, that's 31. I don't know what I did there. Kenneth Young Center is a major one of the only mental health facilities in the area. We use that extensively. You'd be surprised how many people are being diagnosed with mental health issues, and they're a lot of times ignored or just avoided because people don't want to admit it or don't want to deal with it. But Kenneth Young is a big partner of ours. The Mobile Dental Clan, Shelter, Clearbrook Wings, ETS, Northwest. That's another transportation service, and that's just a few of them. That's not all of them. Then we have little community outreach where we get particularly a lot of the seniors, and we get others involved with the program. That's God, I forget EGTIC. Now I forget the name. Winter coats, Thanksgiving essentials, food drives. That's Elk Grove High School does it. They have cereal bowl and they compete against each other. Senior Christmas dinner, and Operation Christmas, where people donate gift cards that we put into a package so that a parent can go and buy presents for their kids. Not where we give them presents, but where they're empowered to give their kid a present that they feel is appropriate. Now, who's the boss? The boss is the township elector. That's you. In township government, it all ends with the elector, and this is the closest form of government to the people. You are any registered voter who registered on less than 28 days before a town meeting can vote, and the powers here are extensive. Approval, purchase, sale, lease property, revision of tax schedule. They can change the budgets on us if they want to. Declaration of surplus property goes down the line here. Ultimately, the responsibility and the authority lies with the electors for a township. Now, that doesn't mean they execute it very often, but if they want to, they can.
How many people do you have to have there?
And what do you mean, come to the meetings and stuff? At the regular board meetings?
Or for a vote, how many people?
But, pardon?
To change that? How many electors do you need?
Pardon?
Is it just the majority of who's there to take a vote? Or do you need a certain
No, it has to be, well, it has to be on the agenda. So if you wanted, let's say the budget was posted and you wanted, and you had a group of people that would want that budget addressed and maybe changed. It would take 15 people to petition to put on the agenda item, and then it would be on the agenda.
And then how many people, 15 to vote for it, or?
No, quorum is 15.
15.
A quorum is 15 people. Now, in most cases, you don't run into an issue here. Where you really get the most interest is when we're selling or buying property, real property. That's where there's more interest, and we need to get approval, to be quite honest, on those issues too. We have regular meetings monthly at a convenient location, established time. For us, it's the fourth Monday at 7 o'clock. Special meetings, this is for special purposes, and it's got to be at a convenient location. Special purpose would be, for instance, if we needed to talk about a compensation issue, or there was a problem with somebody's salary, or there was an issue. We would call a special meeting, and we would have to put notice out there, and anyone who can attend a special meeting. But that is not the regular meetings every month at the same time. Special meetings are for special purposes, and they can only deal with what was specifically called for. And then the emergency meeting is if hurricane comes through here and wipes everything out, and we have to have a special emergency meeting to, I don't know what, but we've never had one. The board consists of the supervisor and the 4 trustees. Each person on the board casts 1 vote. The assessor and highway commissioner are not on the board because they do their own thing except for their budget. And then I have to keep all the minutes and related records. I only vote, and I've done this once, when there's a tie on filling a vacancy. So if there's a vacancy, someone resigns from the board, they have to fill it with the same party that person came from, and then the board votes on it. And I had a situation where there was 2 voted for one guy and 2 voted against him, and so my vote was the deciding vote. That's the only time I get to vote, so you can't blame me for anything. Important key meeting rules. We always have to operate in the Open Meetings Act, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. The Open Meetings Act means you can't be transacting business outside of that public meeting. Notification of the meeting and posting is required 48 hours in advance. 15 agenda, like I said, electors can have an agenda item added or a special meeting called. Every meeting must have a public comments agenda. That's beyond the item. So every meeting, people can stand up, and we get some great comments and great questions, and we get some crazy questions and crazy comments. And then there are closed sessions, and those are for special issues, and the public is excluded for those. That'd be like personnel matters and negotiations on property purchases and the likes. Those are the regular, special, and emergency. Then there's an annual town meeting of electors. This is required by law, held annually for the transaction of township business. It starts the 2nd Tuesday of April at 6 o'clock. We have to go through all the notification. I'm the only one that has a role in this, in arranging to have somebody named to be the moderator. And once that moderator's in place, she runs the meeting. And at this, anything can be addressed that needs to be addressed. Usually, all that gets done is a supervisor report where he goes over financials and other updates, and then so there'll be a few questions, and that's usually it, unless there's something controversial going on. Otherwise, it's a very tame affair. 15 or more electors may request for a specific item to be added to the agenda. So if the agenda comes out and you're seeing something that you want to address and it's not on there, the 15 can step up and come to me as the clerk, and I have to add it to the agenda then. Special town meetings for electors. The annual town meeting is at a specific time once a year. This can be called at any time, and it's usually, the board calls it, or 15 or more electors can once again call it. And this is usually for, like, when we sold the youth services building on Goff Road. And when we had to sell that, we had to have a meeting to get it approved by the electors. And because we just can't sell it on our own, we have to have the electors agree to that. So that would be a special meeting. It was for that purpose and that purpose alone to get approval. And 15 electors starts to be important. If we don't have 15 people, we can't transact any business. So that's the slogan for the township: empowering people through community. That gives you a view specifically at how the township is structured, who are the elected officials, and what its function is. Now I'm going to get into the George Bussey private citizen comments. So what's the value of township government? This is my opinion, not the township's. It's a responsibility. It has responsibility for the unincorporated areas that nobody else wants. They take care of the unincorporated areas in terms of infrastructure. They also, the townships outside do the assessments, but we play a major role as taxpayer advocate. Nobody else is doing this. And when somebody doesn't know what to do, and they want to do appeal, or want to make sure they're getting their senior freeze, or want to make sure they're getting their homeowner exemption, or they want to find out why their taxes, why their fair market value went here or this went that, and look at comps, we're the only ones that do that. And that is becoming more and more used by the community, and particularly by seniors. Final net for low income and indigent. This is the last place that people can go. It's the safety net. It's your final safety net. Fills the holes in county and municipal social services. Things like I said, like bike safety, or like vouchers for daycare, or these are things that are holes that aren't provided by the county, aren't provided by the township. And then we in Elk Grove particularly put a real emphasis on getting residents back to work and back integrated into contributing to the society of the community we live in. It's local services provided by local people. And then there's a Decokeville quote there. So won't read that. So great, that's great, but what does it cost? Well, Elk Grove Township raised less than 1% of your property tax bill. So the average Elk Grove Township property taxes run $2,000 to $30,000. I shouldn't say property taxes run $2,000 to $30,000, with the median around $750 to $10,000. Now, with the recent triennial county tax review, that may have gone up, but let's say $7,500, $10,000. So let's say you pay property tax at $10,000. You're paying only $100,000 for all those services that maybe you don't use, but there's a lot of people that are really, really dependent upon those services, that they can't get anywhere else.
$100.
I'm sorry, $100 annually. So it's, I think that's really sort of a bargain. Now, the township, we at Elk Grove, and a lot of other townships, given the pressure and the visibility we're getting, are even more aggressively pursuing efforts to add value while managing costs. So like at Elk Grove Township, we sold our youth services building, we sold our daycare building. Those properties go back on the tax rolls and can be used by other businesses, and we're consolidated. Then we sold our existing township, and we used that money to go and open a new consolidated single building where we can more efficiently run our business and take up less space and less property that can be used by the villages with the tax base. We're restructuring our services for efficiency and utility. The low-income daycare vouchers versus brick and mortar, downsizing departments with reduced relevance, road and bridge, and refocusing agency branches. It's interesting, like, how many of you are familiar with Wings? That's a fantastic organization. They've even told us we do very well raising money. We're in very good financial shape. If you need to use this somewhere else, you can. So what we're kind of doing is we're refocusing where we can make more of a difference to help maybe a service that doesn't get the support in the community like Wings does to keep them going. Though we still have a relationship with Wings, we just have shifted where that money is going to help. And then we're expanding relevant services at a minimum cost. We've added the medical closet. We're working on a Ways to Work program, the cars, the used cars. We do tech. We're doing more and more taxpayer education sessions, and we're doing more and more cooperative programs with the Kennedy Young Center. In fact, my wife was at if you're preparing to go on Medicare, a lot of people don't know what's coming up next. And Kenneth Young has a woman that does a seminar on that. Did it at the public library. It was a huge turnout. So we're going to be doing that at the township as well too, and advertising that in the areas where people don't see that or don't get that usually that much of an opportunity to get that. And then we're continuing cost reductions. I believe that the road and bridge, this is me speaking, should go into an outsourced role, that we should close that department, bring it under the town, and then have someone manage outsourcing that to Mount Prospect or Arlington Heights or Elk Grove, and let their public works do it, and we pay them to cover those areas, the unincorporated areas where we are. I think that would be more cost effective. Technology, obviously we're using more technology to improve efficiencies. We've expanded agency partnerships. We're focusing more and more on certain groups, and we're sharing with them in establishing programs, because that makes it more cost effective for both. It makes it more possible. They're not putting as much, we're not putting as much in, but combined we can make a program work. And then reducing the elected official salaries. As we've got an administrator, as we're using more technology, we have been reducing the salaries associated with the elected officials, and that's only appropriate. That money is being reallocated to where it's more valuable. And so the question becomes, then why? Why, if there's this much that's being provided, it's filling holes, it's helping those that need it the most. It's not costly at all. Why would you want to do away with the township? Well, one, they're not well understood and well known. They're an easy target. Two, it distracts public attention away from larger state and local and county financial problems. If you're focusing on the townships and screaming about the townships, nobody's paying maybe the same attention to the state and the county issues. And the politicians will look like they're doing something. And this is bi-party. This is one of the big advocates for doing away with townships is McSweeney, a Republican west of here. And so it's Republican and Democrat. It's a bipartisan sort of effort here, so to speak. And then I think the counties are not opposed to it because it gives them the opportunity to consolidate their power in the township and gives them access to new tax revenue pools. Some of the new bills that are brought forward, like House Bill 348 by McSweeney, says that the townships can be done away with. And that the county will take over responsibility, but they're not required to keep all the programs in place. So some of these programs are going away, and then they can charge the same 90% of the same taxes you did before for 2 years, and then they can do what they want. So if they're charging 90% and you're not guaranteed that the programs stay, you're getting what, a savings of $10? $10, and you may not have any of those programs remaining. And once those programs are gone, they're not coming back. There has been no comprehensive study to analyze the effects of living in townships, particularly in terms of cost. A McHenry study in 1993 actually reported an increase in costs and loss of programs. That's just one of them. There's been no comprehensive decision. So we're talking local government for local people, by local people, and that's the purpose of townships. There certainly are things that we can do that need to be adjusted to make us more cost effective and more relevant specifically to those areas where we operate. How we operate here in Cook County is different than how we should be operating in the rural communities. Those cannot be ignored and need to be focused on. But beyond that, I would argue that this is one of the hidden gems in terms of what you're getting for your money and who's getting it, who's getting the benefits from it.